Hey everyone, my name is Joey, if you don't already know me, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm really excited to be here today, and first off, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I am so excited. This year is almost over. But before this year's over, I have to come up with another video for you guys. Like, hello, But I'm really excited to get into today's new video. This specific case really upsets me. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about it, but this case specifically really upsets me because all of the ruined, everything was just ruined. Everything went wrong. The police were wrong. The DNA was ruined. Everything in this case is wrong, and this really could have prevented and not, I don't want to say saved an innocent child's life, but it could have at least maybe helped us get to know who did this to her, really. And that's what really upsets me. I'm really excited to be back with you guys today. So, before we start, please hit that red subscribe button to join my family and join the squad. And now, and only now, let's get into today's brand new video. Jonbenet Patricia Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia, to her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey. Now, Jonbenet also had an older brother who was 3 years older than her. And at the time, she was 6, and so he was 9. John was a president at Access Graphics, which was like a computer system company. And they moved from Atlanta to Boulder, Colorado, which is where the headquarters of his job was located. Now, because Patsy Ramsey was a beauty pageant winner, she entered Jonbenet in numerous beauty pageants all around the area, and Jonbenet won many of them, becoming a beauty pageant queen. She followed in her mom's footsteps and was really becoming known in the beauty pageant world. Now, this is where the story gets kind of tricky and upsetting, and so let's dive into it. On December 26, 1996, Patsy Ramsey came down her staircase and found a 2.5-page ransom note. Yes, 2.5 pages long, that demanded $118,000, and that if John or Patsy went to the police or family members and friends, Jonbenet would right then and there be executed. Now, this is why this ransom note is so weird. One, because it's 2.5 pages long. Now, ransom notes are usually about 50 to 60 words. They're not really that long. They're brief, right to the point. But this ransom note was weird. It was 2.5 pages. And also, they demanded $118,000. Now, that's weird because last year, as a bonus, I think it was last year or earlier in the year, one of the two, John was given a bonus of $118,000. That was the exact amount that the kidnappers requested. So, although the note did say not to inform any police, not to inform or let any of your family members and friends know, at 5:52 a.m., Patsy Ramsey dialed 911. Now, they came pretty quickly. It didn't take them really long to get there, but immediately they did rule out that there was no kind of forced entry due to nothing was broken from what they saw. Nothing was broken, nothing was open. Like, they didn't try to force themselves in any kind of way. Now, this case could have really gone so much differently if so much of the evidence and DNA was not contaminated. This is what upsets me so much. Because they thought that Jonbenet was kidnapped, they only cleared out her room specifically instead of just doing the entire house. They only did her room. And so now the whole house is now just open to a whole bunch of contamination. And it's like, wow. Also, arrangements to meet with the kidnappers to give them the amount of money that they requested, those were made. They made arrangements for that, but nobody ever came to claim any of the money. And now I think it was at 1 p.m. I think it was later the same day at 1 p.m. Detective Arndt or something like that. I think it was like Linda Arndt. I think she was a woman. She had told John and his family friend Fleet White to go in the house and look around and see if anything was kind of weird or out of place, like where it's not supposed to be. And this is weird because I think it was said immediately he went straight to the basement. I think that's what they said. Correct me if I'm wrong, but immediately he went straight to the basement, and then it's like a latch door down in their basement, and he opened it, and Jonbenet's body was there, and they discovered her body.
Who suggested for you to search the house?
Linda Arndt. She said, take Fleet White with you and search the house, see if you notice anything out of the ordinary.
He should not have been allowed to search that house by himself. He could have tampered with evidence without even knowing that it was evidence. That's a critical mistake.
So where did you begin?
Went down to the basement.
Why start there?
It's the most logical entry point. Went into we called it the train room. The kids had a train set up in this. There was a window open. There was a suitcase sitting under the window, which shouldn't have been there. And I noted that and mentioned it to Fleet. I said, that shouldn't be there.
You knew there was a broken window downstairs, right?
Well, I had broken that glass and then opened the window to get in previous summer because I'd left my key and Patsy was gone. I thought we had it fixed, but we never went in the basement, so I didn't know that. So I wasn't surprised that the glass was broken, but I was surprised that the window was open.
So you come to this door and it's closed. And what's in that door?
Well, we called it the wine cellar, but there's never any wine in it. It was a junk room. I was just going through methodically every square inch of that basement, and I opened the door, and there's Jonbenet.
Now, this is what aggravates me, because there was an officer when they did the initial search, I think, Officer French, or something like that, French, one of the two, and he was down there in that basement, and he saw the latched door, and he looked at it, but he did not open it because he said that he was looking for like exit routes to see how they could have escaped or anything or something like that. But that kind of, and little did he know that her body was right there behind that door. And that's what aggravates me right there, because I don't care what it is. If I see a latched door sitting right there in front of my face, I don't care if I'm looking for a way in, a way out, a way around. I'm gonna open the door anyways. You don't know what you're gonna find behind a latched door. And that right there is what really aggravates me as well, because he didn't even open the door, and little did he know her body was right behind the door that entire time. Now, when John opened the latch door, as I said before, 6-year-old Jonbenet Ramsey was found right there, and she had nylon cord tied around her wrist and I think her neck. She had duct tape around her mouth, and she was covered like half, like I think up like to her stomach or something like that, with a white blanket. And now this is also where it kind of aggravates me as well. John picked up Jonbenet and carried her out of the basement upstairs. So now any kind of potential evidence that could have been on her is now tampered and messed with, because he literally picked her up and took her out upstairs. And that is like a big no. You don't do that. I've watched a lot of Law and Order episodes to know that you don't do that. You don't mess with it, because anything that could be on there, they can find anything on there. And that also just like blew my mind as well. Now, everyone in the Ramsey household had to give blood, hair samples, and something else, handwriting. They had to give in handwriting, blood, hair, and a whole bunch of different other kind of stuff to the police. And now this is where it gets like finger pointy-ish. The John and Patsy, excuse me, they were really being looked at the police because they were in the house, but there was a ransom note, which makes it kind of weird, because it's like, okay, we're gonna kidnap her, but she's already dead, and now it's a lot. So now they're looking at Patsy and John, and so Patsy and John didn't talk to the police or anyone for months, but they did do like interviews and media and things like that. You know, giving, like, spreading out the awareness and telling people the story and just things like that. Now, during the autopsy, it was determined that Jonbenet Ramsey had passed away from a skull fracture and strangulation. Sexual assault was also involved, but there was nothing was left behind to test or any kind of stuff like that. And so, but Jonbenet Ramsey's death was ruled as a homicide. The Ramseys were looked at, as I said before, because they felt like because the ransom note was so weird. It was 2.5 pages long. They felt like Patsy had written it and like tried to, like, you know, that she staged the ransom note and Jonbenet's body, and so John and Patsy tried to cover it up and stuff like that, which I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. Hopefully we know for sure, but I don't know. But they said that that's what the police were going with at that current moment. Sadly, on June 24th of 2006, Patsy Ramsey had lost her battle to ovarian cancer at the age of 49 years old. And she was buried in Marietta, Georgia, next to Jonbenet. And like less than 2 months later, in August, a false confession was made by, I think it was John Carr. He was a 41-year-old elementary teacher, and he said that he abused Jonbenet, he assaulted her, and things like that. But he was going into details that everyone in the public already knew. Like, he wasn't going into details about what really happened, things that weren't really released to the public. He was just saying what was already out there. And plus, there was no kind of evidence or DNA that linked him to the Jonbenet Ramsey case. Over the years, many lawsuits have been filed against different companies and magazines and things like that for all different kind of reasons. The most recent one, I think it was Burke, which was Jonbenet's older brother. He filed a civil suit against NBC for defamation of character. It was like $250 million for like one thing, and $500 million for like punitive damage, or it was something like that. I can't remember right now, but it was $250 for one thing and $500 million for other thing. And NBC did try to get it thrown out, of course, but they did decide that they would go on with it. And there are also a lot of conspiracy theories, obviously, about what happened to Jonbenet. Now, one of them was that Burke was not looked at the police. They said that Burke wasn't looked at. They didn't think that Burke had did it, so he was never looked at as a suspect. In the case, it was mainly just Patsy and John at first. But one of the conspiracy theories are that Burke had struck Jonbenet over the head, but he didn't intend to kill her. There's also something that I forgot to mention. Something about Jonbenet eating a pineapple before she had a little while before she had died. And Patsy and John both said that they don't remember giving Jonbenet any pineapple, but there was pineapple, it was that she had eaten pineapple before she died. There was a bowl of pineapple with a spoon in it or something like that. And so I think they thought that Burke had given it to her or something like that. But And the second conspiracy theory is that Patsy killed John. She had struck Jonbenet over the head because she was mad. I think that Jonbenet she had a bedwetting incident, and so she was angry and she hit Jonbenet over the head. And she thought that Jonbenet had died, and so she strangled Jonbenet to, it's like a term for it, it's like red something, but she strangled Jonbenet and tried to try and cover up the crime and what she actually did. And so yeah, and there's also, there's also like the intruder theory. They also thought that the Ramseys and the people handling the case they had a relationship, like they had like a kind of relationship, and so they felt like that is why some people were going with the intruder, that someone did it with an intruder, that Jonbenet was killed by an intruder, and then it was some of the department thought that the Ramseys did it, but the intruder one, they didn't really want to go with that because they thought that it was the intruder. They thought that it was the intruder and that it wasn't the Ramseys. And there were people saying that they think it's the Ramseys, it wasn't the intruder. But yeah, so this case is just a whole big mess, honestly. Because this could have been prevented in so many different ways, that just anger me. Like, I think they said like they had their minister come in. They had their family friend, Fleet White, coming in, going down the basement with all kind of different evidence. He was down there. They had family and friends coming down there. Why do you have your relatives and second thousand cousins coming down and messing with all kind of different evidence and being in the house alone? Nobody should have been in there but the police who were handling the case and dealing with the evidence. Those are the only people who should have been in there. It was contaminated from the start. Too much people were walking in and out, and I feel like that is why we don't have a definite answer as to who really did this to Jonbenet. And it's like, it's so sad that someone so sweet and innocent has to go through what she went through, and there's not even a definitive answer as to who did this to her 23 years later. It's just so sad, and it makes me really sad. But this case was handled so poorly. It was thrown around between person and person. I think the dad, John, did he have more kids? I'm not sure, but I think he had a new family, or like he married someone like Jane Russo or something like that. But he's married to her now. Like Burke he's doing him whatever. But this case is just a big mess overall, and it just could have been prevented, and it makes me so upset. Yeah, and the Ramseys were also exonerated when like later technology came out, and Jonbenet had DNA evidence on her, but it was to an unknown male, and it didn't belong to any of the Ramseys. So that is why later they were exonerated, and so they weren't allowed to keep going with that the Ramseys did it, because there was evidence that, I guess, DNA evidence that proved that it wasn't any of the Ramseys or things like that. But yeah, that is just so much. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for staying and watching today's brand new video. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions about this case down below. I know this case really tears me up. If you guys liked today's video, please give this video a like. Please comment what you think, any kind of thoughts you have, who you think did it, what you think could have been done differently, all kind of things like that down in the description box below. And also, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and join my family, and all my social medias will be down in the description box below as well. If you like to go on Instagram or Snapchat or any of that and follow me, that will be down in the description box below as well. I want to thank you guys so much for watching today's brand new video. I'm Joey, and I'll see you guys in the very next one. Bye.